How's everybody doing tonight? Let's get some thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me all right. And once we're convinced the audio is good, I want to introduce a very special guest I have with me tonight. She is an OG truther, a flat earther, a freedom fighter. She's Canadian. Don't be intimidated by that flag behind her. She is Canadian. The one and only Dawn Dussault. How are you, dear?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Ha what was your day like today? Were you out and about in the woods or
That was more yesterday. Today, honestly, I did a lot of research into what we're going to be talking about tonight, and so I was pulling up a lot of notes. I was trying to look at old notebooks from years ago too, just to refresh myself. And I have
Mhm.
diagrams and stuff like that as visual aids, just as or if needed. But the thing is, I'm on my phone right now, so I can't even pull any of this stuff off. So I'm gonna have to try to find a way to message you maybe on Instagram to give you maybe diagrams or images, or I'll
I'm
just
not
read out.
yeah, you're gonna have to read because I or hold up to
Yep.
the camera because I'm not gonna have access to Instagram because I'm also using my phone tonight.
Okay.
I've tried using my laptop in the past, but honestly, it's just like laptop cameras just can't compete with iPhones. So at the end of the day, it's just easier and better to stream from the phone, I believe. But
Yeah,
um,
I can also try to, because I haven't done this on this phone yet, but I can try to switch views or turn my phone around and I could just put my phone in front of the images that I want to show.
Yeah, you would totally be able to, like, reverse your camera and then show whatever's in front of
Okay,
you just with that, like, loop-de-loop button on top.
perfect. So yeah, I was doing a lot
Awesome.
of that. Some some chores, nothing crazy today. It's more of a rest day.
Yeah, I didn't really do much. I had to, post a lot on social media. Obviously, I have this ongoing fight with the city council, so I spoke at the city council meeting last night. That
I did
always
see a bit of
gets
it.
you
Oh,
saw a
sorry.
little bit of it, like, it always gets me, like, worked up, and then I had to actually meet with the city attorney today in person. We had a little sit down, because I wanted to go over what the consequences would be if I
Mm,
just have my protest without a permit. Well, what do you plan on charging me with? What's the worst case scenario? And I was just trying to get those details, like, so that I could weigh my options, like, well, okay, like, if it's just a slap on the wrist, like, I'll risk getting arrested. Today,
right.
I find out they wanna charge me with something, that would be like $2,000 and 90 days in jail.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, I don't think I really wanna spend 90 days in jail to martyr myself, but,
No. Nope. Not worth it right now because that's exactly what they would want to do. It's
but
happening
it's
in Canada more and more. And you might even get committed, right? They might say like, "Oh, let's certify you mental health and from what you're saying and have you involuntarily committed."
totally.
Actually, so I did a video today as well, but it's not stuff that we're going to get into, but just looking at the different trends throughout history, even recent history, where the political dissidents, the people that were high IQ, high functioning within societies that were speaking out as whistleblowers or whatever for things that were going to happen, cataclysmic events that would happen, how they were targeted first, right? It wasn't the people that were low IQ or that were, the common criminal or whatever, didn't care about them at all. It was always the people who were high IQ, high functioning, high-ranking military, law enforcement, academia, like I said, and executed within days of people getting power, like Lenin and Mao and Stalin and Hitler and you name it, right? Pol Pot, etc. And so I did a video on that and on Instagram because I think it's important because we're at that level in Canada where we're already targeting what we call political dissidents, right? And we're
Mhm.
certifying them with mental health. They're literally getting committed. We even had this recent case that Alex Jones and others has talked about where 27 years old, like a biomedical genius, and because he was speaking out on Chinese influence within Canada, which he is entirely correct on, they didn't like what he was sharing, and just like and again check the box, and law enforcement assisted with it. And so I was just talking about that.
And that's coming to the United States. I mean,
It's already there, but
w
it's not as obvious because it's getting shut down, right? It's been so, and it's because people are not even reporting on it, right? It's not getting to any mainstream left or right.
Well, if you've
But
noticed, I noticed a few years ago, right? I noticed the great noticing. That's what I called it. Noticing the great noticing because it was shortly after Trump's election in 2024 that Mark Zuckerberg came out and said like he was going to allow, looser rules on hate speech and censorship. So for about a year and a half, you could get away with saying anything you wanted about the Chosenites, right? The thems. Let's call them the thems tonight. Okay. So thems, like you could talk about thems all you wanted, and nothing was getting deleted, nothing was getting flagged. All of a sudden, I stopped getting the 30-day suspensions from Facebook, even though I was on a perpetual 30-day suspension on Facebook. And then all of a sudden, after that 2024 election, they're allowing you to get away with saying more and more and more. And what they were doing is basically collecting data points on people. So it's like
right.
now they know who the noticers are. They allowed us to notice. And now we all make our posts about them and now we're very much on their radar because that's what Facebook is. It's like you're giving the government everything about you, all your data points. There's like 50,000 data points you're giving the government when you use Facebook. So they
And when
know
you use
exactly.
AI, yeah, sorry.
Yep, yeah, AI, yeah, which is just like the next level of it all.
Mhm. And yeah, and even not even at the extremes where people are going to jail, suspended charge and things like that, but it's like this lawfare as well, and also complete sabotage of people within like your own political party, people that are actually sharing the truth. So even with Marjorie Taylor Greene and with Thomas Massey, like even that infighting that completely sabotaged their political aspirations, whatever you want to call it, for now. But it was Trump and it was Hegseth and these guys that were
It
completely shutting
wasn't
and
it
a lot of
wasn't
money.
the it wasn't the left wing taking down
Yep.
those APAC free politicians. It was the right wing eating their own
Yep.
simply because they didn't stand with Israel. So all of Trump's actions, none of it is good for the Republican Party at the end of the
No.
day, right? They're gonna lose election after election. Why? Because you fought a war that you've already admitted is for Israel. You've jacked up the gas price to $5 a gallon. We're all feeling the inflation. And you openly stated you don't care about American finances. Like he does not care about the American taxpayer and our finances or how much debt we have or how hard the cost of living is right now. He admitted that he does not care. He cares more about his approval rating in Israel.
He cares more about his ego again, even with the people that he's hired to be part of his cabinet and the experts, and even with his son-in-law, like discussing the Middle East. Like what the hell, like what expert do you have in any of these environments? You have
Right.
no operational experience, strategic advisory roles, or anything in any capacity, and you're going to speak on anyways on that behalf. And yeah, it could be some kind of a controlled demolition, like I said, like a few years ago, that this was going to be something that was an intentional collapse
Hmm.
in a way that it would be like less obvious. But even with his 45th and 47th presidency, you add those two numbers up individually, obviously, but it's 9/11, right? So I was even saying that at the beginning before he even got voted in. I'm like, just that alone, just based on how he did with like the with COVID and other
Yeah.
things, I'm like, it's going to be a prolonged demise and collapse, you know. But if you're an accelerationist, then you should have voted for Kamala. You know what I mean? It was damned if you do, damned if you didn't.
Right. And I mean, and us truthers, the people who are awake and in tune with these things, we know about the controlled demolition that's planned for America. We've known this for decades. It's been prophesized, right? It's been talked about by not just truthers, but Albert Pike, for instance, right? In his letters about the three world wars.
Same good thing.
America, we're not destined to survive the third world war. Like the superpowers of the world have to collapse. We are the superpower. We have to collapse for the new world order to rise from the ashes. And the people, these sheep, these NPCs, whatever you want to call them, right? They will be begging for the one world government. When that comes, they'll be asking for it. It'll be the only solution that's presented to them, and they'll be begging for it. And that's
Well,
how.
Canada's already, but we're already begging for it. Like we already have
Yeah.
it, right? Like I don't think there's anything that we can do at this point to undo it. Like we're like the initial kind of a behavior, like the experiment, I guess you would say. before it rolls out into the US, I'm assuming.
Hmm.
But but just even again with our connections to like communist socialists, right? And not even just Europe, like the higher class, the Bilderberg, Bohemian Grove. Again, these are people are they want us to be communists or the peasant class, low IQ, underskilled, underqualified, all that stuff. No innovation, no competition, no advancement, none of that stuff. Because again, like makes them have like again, like you're like more control, right? And
What George Carlin said, just smart enough to work the machines, but not smart enough to ask questions. You know,
yeah.
that's what they want. They want you right, functional, but not smart enough to actually question authority, question orders. You know,
And I
that's
don't think that that's what our founding fathers wanted. Where people that came here for a better life. I think that it was hijacked, right? It used to be more incentivized again to do like the capitalist free market society thing, and not communism, but and this woke DEI ESG agenda that again is part of that new world order that again is WEF and the World Health Organization and UN involvement, and yeah, involves China. Obviously, it's just wild. There's just so much going on right now too, like from all angles. But
it's overwhelming. Um, how much is going on at the end of the day, and it's hard to focus on every current event, right? I try to look at things where like broad strokes. I don't really dive into the details of the current events. I have a general understanding of how things work, so I can read a
totally,
headline and kind of understand what they're selling, and what the agenda is. But I
yeah,
don't really dive too much into it because it would just consume your mind too much, right? It's just not worth it, right? Um, so
yeah, and it's negative.
and tonight we were on the topic of more flat Earth and how it connects to astrology and looking at astrology because it is pretty wild. We've talked about this like off camera, just how accurate people's charts are, right? How most people are their signs and their charts, and it really does ring true. And me and you are in this unique position where we have an understanding of astrology from a geocentric flat earth perspective,
Mhm.
which most people don't have that understanding of astrology.
They used to.
They used to. It's kind of like a lost art, right? Because if you think about it, how old is astrology? How many thousands of years would you date astrology or something similar? Where does it all originate?
Yeah, we see. I've done videos on. I call it the creation story and different interpretations of the creation story. But I see in all very old ancient civilizations, the ones that are recorded, like the Sumerians, the Babylonians, like even all of that stuff, where they're still like they're in alignment with these celestial bodies. And so,
Hmm.
and God created the luminaries, right? And the sun and the moon. And so, I would say from the literal dawn of time, the creation of time
Right.
and luminaries, this is how long it's been there.
in
If that makes
in the
sense.
six
It,
in the
it, it was
six in
always
the
that.
6,000 years of recorded human history since
Yeah.
since Genesis, since verse one,
Yes.
page one of
Yeah.
Genesis is about, let's give or take a couple hundred years or whatever it is, 6,000 years. And in 6,000 years, the zodiac, which when we say the zodiac, it's not something mystical, and it's literally just the constellations in the sky that we observe.
Yes.
It's not something invented. We're talking about the known constellations. There are 12 of them that circle around Polaris. That is known as the zodiac. They're split up into what is it, 15-degree or 30-degree increments, because there's
Yes.
12 of them and they make a circle. And that goes back 6,000 years. Those constellations that we observe have not changed or altered relative positions to each other in all of recorded human history. 6,000 years.
Yep.
How can that be
Yep.
rationalized
Well, even
on
before that,
a
I mean, people allege that the Earth is older than that as well. Carbon dating and beyond that, like it's not reliable. But even with is it Gobekli Tepe or whatever you call it? But like they're trying to say it's like 8,000 years old or something like that. But that even predates what they're calling like the 6,000 year Christian interpretation of the timeline. and they're still looking at the luminaries and the sun and the moon for the positioning, the alignment, and even in the old materials that were used in these ancient structures, it had to do with the elements and how to harness the energy from the atmosphere
Right.
and from the sun and moon resonant frequency. And yeah, but
Which Genesis states, which happened
oh yeah,
roughly 6,000 years ago, that these are heavenly luminaries that were placed in the firmament.
yes. Do you mind if I read that off, because I actually have up my I have
Yeah,
my
if you
Bible
if
with
you
me
have
there.
Genesis, yeah, I always have a Bible
I
with
do.
me when I'm streaming.
Yeah,
I would love I
Genesis,
would love for you to read it off.
so Genesis 1:1. I'll literally just start literally at the beginning. And so in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. So it was empty, whatever you want to call it.
But it was
Um,
here. The earth
but it was,
existed at that point.
yes, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Right. And so I'm just going to scroll here. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Right. So I'm thinking like looking down, like at the face of the waters. You can even see reflections in the water when you're looking down. Anyways,
And when I hear
um,
the word the deep, right, you think of the darkness of the deep ocean,
ocean. Yes,
water.
that's what I think
That's
as
what
well.
the
Yes.
deep really kind of is in modern language. That's how it's now kind of interpreted.
Yeah.
Right, like the deep blue sea, because it's all water. At this point, the firmament has not been created yet,
No.
but it's just all darkness on the face of the deep. Okay.
And God said, and this is a thing too. This is where when we talk about the universe and we talk about light and sound and frequencies of vibrations and things like that, to me, the earth was created when, I mean, it wasn't created, it was created before, obviously, but it's when life, I guess, life was created and light. Okay. And God said, so he said the word. God
He
said, let
spoke
there
it.
be light. He
Yeah.
spoke it.
With
So,
his
and God said, what?
powerful voice that
The vibration.
they say God's voice is too strong for man to even hear. Um, God's voice creates whatever kind of vibration, because it's sound, right? It's a frequency
Yes.
that resonates into matter. It
Sound
manifests
creates light,
itself.
or sound created light, right?
Sound,
So
yeah.
God's word, that frequency, that those vibrations
Sound created
created light.
light. Yeah, that
And
essentially,
there was,
yeah, yeah. I never
and
thought of
that's
it
how
like that.
electromagnetism expresses itself, right? At varying densities, temperatures, and pressures is like light and sound. And so Genesis, and God saw the light and it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And I wanted to talk about that as well, light and darkness, because we talk about the speed of light. I have a different interpretation of that. And with darkness, we don't have the speed of darkness. Why? But anyways, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. That's really, there's, unless you wanted to kind of comment on that, because we're getting into the good part. Genesis 1:6. And God said, let there be a firmament. First one though. So this is where there's a firmament that I believe to be that is enclosing this cosmos.
Yeah,
And so I believe that within the heavens, like there obviously there's contained dome, and they're operating within, but also the firmament it is also is a container, and this is
yeah,
what holds up the water, right? So you have, and let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. And then when you look at that, can water be in the midst of a bowl? So yes, water can absolutely be in the midst of, or the center of a bowl. And so the firmament above and below, which contains this.
and this is all. At the end of the day, this is all more scientific than what mainstream science teaches us, because we know we need containment in order to have pressurized atmosphere, right? That is like
Yeah,
the number one argument of a good friend of mine, right? Sovereign Soul, Unchained Mind. It's
yeah,
the
the
air.
second law of thermodynamics.
It's this exactly. You're not going to have air pressure in atmosphere without physical containment. That's how it works. Okay.
Yep,
Um,
and this is a pressurized gaseous environment. Like this is a fact. And there's different mediums of fluids too, right? And so
yeah, it's a giant density tower essentially.
yeah. Yeah, and so and let it divide the waters from the waters, right? So when I look at, like, we have what I think to be the ether, which is like this perfect fluid or medium that the luminaries are traveling within, which is why again they're consistent on their paths, like I'm almost like a mechanical gear or gears. which makes this divine clock operate, and the sun and moon being like the major gears being the great lights as well. And yeah, so in the ether, and then you have the atmos, right where we live too, right where we have like nitrogen and carbon and oxygen, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously water, right? And then you have like the more dense matter or earth, but we also have again the layers of the bedrock and things like that.
There's even
That
the layers of the water, so it gets colder and denser, right?
Yes, yeah,
As you get, the pressure builds up as you go deeper and deeper and deeper. So
exactly.
the whole earth, and what the Bible will say continuously in other chapters, it'll say in the earth, not on the earth. It'll say in the earth, because it's referring to being under the firmament, in the earth, the whole creation. You're inside that snow globe. You're not,
Yes,
doesn't necessarily mean underground. When the Bible says in the earth, it does not mean underground. It means under the firmament, which means dome, which is
yes,
where the word kingdom, I think you said this earlier, that's where the word kingdom comes from. Kingdom, the
yeah.
kingdom of God. It's his kingdom. Um,
Oh
so
yeah, even with the king and the crown, like the golden crown chakra, like accessing like the illuminated beings, right, and representing that. But God made the firmament, because we're talking about that, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. So that's why he says above and below. Again, there's a
yeah,
firmament below which contains the waters,
yeah, like a bowl.
like, and then exactly, and then we have like the flat plane of inertia where like we like habitate or we exist,
Hmm.
and then you go up from there, and then you have the firmament that contains the heavens, right? And
Right.
then and there's different temperatures and pressures and gradients or whatever you want to call it, like within these different layers or stacks, possibly. And God called
Yeah.
the firmament heaven,
Right.
and the evening and the morning were the second day,
Yeah.
and let the
I
waters
always
under the
see.
heaven. So
I
yeah, so
always
let the waters
I
under the
sorry, just yeah. You know, keep going. Actually, keep going.
and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together onto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. So what you were saying as well, right? You have anyway, and that's where the land appears. And God called the dry land earth, and
Right.
the gathering together of the waters called he seas, and God saw it was good. And then we talk about the herb yielding seed and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind. But I want to get into 14 through 18.
Okay.
Sorry, Genesis 14 through 18. I don't know if I said that.
Hold on.
Okay, so and God,
I should open my Bible and follow along like a real
look, we're in
parishioner
church.
here.
And God
Oh,
said, Genesis 1:14.
gotcha.
I've used this one plenty of times in my videos and I've shared it, but and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So for signs, we've got the zodiac signs, what we call the Mazlot or the Mazroth or the zodiac sign or whatever you want to call it. And for the seasons as well, like the sun's travel path.
I glitched, but I'm back. Am I
Oh,
back?
yeah, you're back.
Okay, sorry about that. No, I glitched. So yeah, so lights in the firmament of the heaven
Yep.
to
To,
divide the. Yeah, you because that's where I cut off.
to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So this is a literal clock. They're talking about the
It's a
luminaries.
literal clock, which we know about the flat Earth clock. The sky is a clock, and what is your interpretation of the first part of that where it says, "Let them be for signs"?
even even that alone, like through it's the zodiac. It's the zodiac. It's the
It's
constellation belt.
exactly because that's how we use that word today. It hasn't
Yep.
changed. It's not anti-Christian or demonic to understand that the zodiac wheel, or what's referred to as astrology, which is the real science of the sky, not astronomy. That's the made up science that comes from
Yep.
occultists, Freemasons, NASA, stuff like that.
Yeah. Pharisees.
Um, God created it, and He created it for one of the reasons being signs.
Hmm.
Throughout the Bible, things that happen in the sky with the luminaries are always giving people signs of things to come, right?
Yep.
Prophecies and
Like
stuff.
even the star in the sky for
The,
Jesus's
for
birth.
Jesus, yeah,
What
or the
example of like
blood
a
the
million?
blood moon, or Joshua commanding the sun to stand still so that he could, defeat his enemy in battle.
Yeah,
He didn't command the earth to stop spinning.
exactly.
With the way inertia works, they always like to throw away the word inertia. But if the earth just suddenly, if the earth was spinning and then all of a sudden just stopped, I'm pretty sure life on earth would come to an end.
And there's so many references in the Bible as well about like, this being like fixed and immovable, solid in its foundation,
Right,
grasshoppers, like spread out or like inside of it. There's so many references, and even with Jesus and his 12 disciples or 12 apostles and their connection and how they're being represented, even in the Last Supper, Leonardo da Vinci, that his painting. There's so much symbology in
right,
there, but with
yeah,
Christian influence. I
yeah,
mean, obviously, because it's the Last Supper. I meant to say with astrological influence.
for sure.
And yeah, and then the 12 tribes of Jacob renamed Israel, the 12 Titans, the 12 Olympians. There's so many connections too, but with the Bible itself as well. And even the Quran, like a bit being an immovable fixed earth, and with the luminaries smaller than the earth, unrelated to the earth, traveling above us, and again, their travel path through the zodiacal belt, but on its travel path, like either north or south of the equatorial rings, that also like impacts our weather, right? So like when we experience the seasons, like winter and summer, as you and I know, the Tropic of Cancer is the shortest, smallest circular ring path, the
Right.
23.4 degrees north latitude of the equatorial ring, which is also a measurable distance. But anyways, that's the furthest that the sun travels, right? And then it goes back on its path, crosses the
What they
equator.
say is like the furthest north that the sun would be directly overhead i-
Yes,
at noon is the Tropic of Cancer. If you're any further north than that, the sun will always be slightly south of directly above your head. Um, and that's really what that means. So the northernmost point the sun reaches is the Tropic of Cancer, and the southernmost point
Tropic of Capricorn.
is the Tropic of Capricorn, which is the the 6 month difference. Like it's connected to the zodiac. They name the tropics after the zodiac because it's when the sun is in those signs that the sun is over those tropics.
Yes,
Makes sense. So
and
when
that's
the
when we
sun,
experience the solstices. Yeah,
right? So when the sun is in the sign of Capricorn astrologically, right, which is right end of December, January.
yeah, 21st of December usually.
Yeah,
Um,
it's it's over the Tropic of Capricorn. And then when it's in the sign of Cancer, it's over the Tropic of Cancer. And that's really how those tropics got their names and the significance of them and how they're connected to the seasons. So like the globe model tells us that the seasons are caused by the globe being on a 23.5 degree tilt
yeah,
or a 23.4 degree tilt, where with us, those tropics are represented by 23.5 degrees, right? Each way off the equator.
yes.
So it's the spiral of the sun that's causing the seasons, not the tilt of the earth. But they take the observation and then they're able to make like a reverse model of it, right?
And yeah,
To turn a geocentric to a heliocentric.
yeah, because even my goodness, Aristotle, Socrates, Eudoxus, like so many people from the past, they were geocentrists. Ptolemy to varying degrees, but with Tycho Brahe, because I've talked a lot about him.
Yeah,
He was the last greatest astronomer there was, right? Someone that like
yeah,
recorded like actual data, like looking at the luminaries, and his interpretation was misinterpreted by someone that was not looking, nor had the experience to observe what he did and what he recorded. And Kepler, like again, they insisted that he be one of his students. He didn't want that. They insisted, so he went there to work with him. He didn't want him to see any of his work. He's like, no, come up with your own work. Don't be lazy. I don't know if he said this. I'm just paraphrasing, but it's like, don't be lazy. Do the friggin' work. I just did this for like 10,000 years. Like, this is what I've come up with. Like, why would you look at my work? Like, if
and
this
then
is going to
he
be peer
poisoned. Then he
reviewed,
poisoned him and took the work.
and they poisoned him and took the work. That's exactly what happened. But he didn't want to. This is what I mean. They steal people's work. You don't do your own independent research. You don't have the experience or anything like that. You completely mess it up. And like, this is what we get, right? and Tycho Brahe, he was a literal genius, right? Like
Yeah.
this guy gets completely overlooked throughout history or lied about, and he was right. And we got people like Kepler and Copernicus, who all this Copernicus did as well was he just flipped the model, right? He's like, oh, instead of the sun moving, it's the Earth, right? And like the Earth and this and if the Earth
And
is
then
a
just
and it's just
reverse
like,
and then just reverse engineer it with a lot of mathematics and a lot of
yeah,
just like a lot of
like theories.
you have to be
Well,
very clever, but they were. It took but it wasn't just one guy. It took
no.
it took a dozen guys, thousands of years to construct the heliocentric model, reverse engineered from the observations that are not heliocentric. Okay.
Well, I don't know how old the heliocentric model. I keep cutting you off. I'm so sorry, but like I think that like the heliocentric model with like Copernicus and stuff like that. I think that's kind of like the first kind of push.
Yeah, like the 500,
With
600 years. Yeah, like
yeah,
the yeah,
like maybe even earlier than that. And so, but consistently for thousands of years, like even Christian teachings, all of this stuff, it was a geocentric model. It was a stationary Earth, independent of
right.
the luminaries. And I could share that as well, but I've shared these on my videos before. But you look at like all these different advanced civilizations, and it's a very similar description of an enclosed system with
Hmm.
the constellations like surrounding like the heavens above and the seven wandering stars, the sun and the moon, and the luminaries traveling within, and then the Earth being like in the center, like this, like the plane of inertia, but within the flat region at the center, and they're above. And then we moved from that model with these nonsensical beings.
Because there is a political and spiritual demonic agenda why they wanted to change things from the truth.
Yes.
Obviously, they always want to hide the truth, which the only rational explanation for the truth that we live in this creation is that a creation has a creator. They couldn't
Yes.
have that. So that's really the master agenda behind why they tell us these astrological lies, right? Or these
Well, they also wanted to remove us from God.
cosmological lies, because they're trying to
Yeah.
hide God at the end of the
Yes.
day.
Exactly.
They don't want, because what it does is it leads to nihilism and atheism and then
Mhm.
communism and
And
then
sexual deviancy and moral
sex. I was
perversion,
just about to say that. I was going to say homosexuality and murder
porn,
because, well,
OnlyFans.
because there's no, this is not a creation. It's all random. There's no
Yeah.
consequences. So that's how,
Yep.
that's the trick the devil plays. It's why
Hmm.
they push this globe lie so hard. You want to know the reason for the lie?
And
Because
even the
all
devil
it,
believes in God.
even the devil believes in God, especially the devil, and this is why they tell you a lie that big, and then it reinforces all the other lies. Okay,
Yep.
or the other, all the other lies reinforce it. So, like for instance, the moon landing, right? Well, the whole thing about the moon landing? Well, before the moon landings, they had never taken a mission. They had never sent a craft far enough away from the Earth to take a picture of it. There was no whole photograph of the Earth before the moon landing. So the moon
Right.
landing was essentially just an excuse to claim you're out in space, to take that famous photograph of the Earth
Hmm.
that they have in every textbook. It shows Africa and Saudi Arabia, right? We've all seen that image a million times. It's the only one they ever had, and they never had a reason to have it until they lied about going to the moon, which reinforced the globe model. So it's just lies reinforcing lies, leading people to all the things we listed: atheism, nihilism, communism, sexual deviancy, you know,
Communism.
yeah, communism. It's which is all
It is
connected.
true.
It's all
It
connected,
is.
but
Yeah.
it's all based on the fact, well, that this is not a creation. It's a randomly created universe with no purpose and no
Yeah.
God and no consequences. So
When
that's the
morality is
lie.
literally built. Oh, sorry.
No,
I was gonna say morality is literally built into the code, right? And that's the thing
yeah,
as well. Different interpretations of the creation story. There's so many different parallels or examples of like different codes that people need to live by, to various extremes, and but with the Ten Commandments and like the seven deadly
yeah,
sins warned in the Bible. And I completely agree with you that like during that time, there's always been like there've always been these religious wars, right? And like even within Christianity, these denominations that like fought against each other, you know. And anyways, and it was always like, is it the Pope that rules? Is it the king that rules? And then you had like the Presbyterian types, like the me types that are like neither of them, right? Like my relationship is with God, we're all equal under the eyes of God, and even the king and the pope are, they're subject to that judgment, and they should be living by that moral code.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, but so by remove, and then the flat earth stuff, but like the flat like there's so sorry the globe earth stuff, there were so many perversions and misinterpretations of the Bible, especially during that time as well, because again, these were tactics used, like to just cause all that division, and make people lose faith,
Yep.
and all that stuff in the infighting. I'm rambling on because again, there's just so much to talk about, like regarding these topics. And
Well, it's kind of funny you bring up what you just said, because recently I was talking to an old friend of mine, like an old man who was a Christian pastor his entire life, right? And he's towards the end of his life now, and I'm visiting with him, and we're talking about Genesis, and now he's a baby boomer, right? So he was raised on all this false science and the moon landings and the globe Earth, and never. It's not his fault, but he never really thought to question it. But he's also this Christian pastor who reads Genesis. So now, naturally, and it's not malicious or anything. It's not nefarious. He's just doing it because he has to. He tries to become an apologist and rationalize Genesis with modern science. And he said something to me like, "Well, Genesis was not written by men who understood science." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But that's." I said, "You only feel that way because you're starting with the assumption that all the science you were taught growing up is true. But what if I told you that most of the science you were taught wasn't true,
mhm.
and the real science is supported by Genesis and supported by the Bible? You don't have to try to be an apologist and rationalize the two together." That's where a lot of people get really led astray,
Yeah, the
because
scientific community,
it
that's a good
starts
point. So
with
it's not even
it
just about,
starts with scientism.
and they remove, and they separate it again, and again with the stigma and the propaganda, like, oh, if you're a Christian or you're religious, then you're stupid, right? Because like, look
Hmm.
at this, like, you don't believe in evolution, and Charles
Oh,
Dawkins,
you're a flat earther.
you're a flat earther, but like, you don't believe in evolution, you believe in creation. Like, you believe that like God created the luminaries, and that this is an enclosed system, like all of these things. And then people that want to be smart, right? Like, I know a lot of people that were atheists in academia, right? And ask them questions about the creation, they would say like, well, would a just God, would a perfect God like create evil and stuff like that? And then we had discussions about that. I've talked about morality, and
Mhm.
going away from morality and goodness, right, leads to like that evil, right? And that's a separation from God, a removal. That's not what he wants, right? And so the further you align yourself to his moral code and following the Ten Commandments, and the example led by Jesus Christ, then the better your life will be, and others as well. And the further you deviate from that, the more you lie, the more you cheat, the more you steal and murder and stuff like that, you're removing yourself from God's intent. And you have to have that contrast as well, right? So unless you can experience and empathize with evil, you know what I mean? Like, you can't understand what good is.
Yeah,
You can't understand what
you need
cold
that
temperature is unless you
dichotomy.
experience
Yeah.
hot. Um, yeah, and so and I was going to say also, like, within religion as well, also what they were doing was people have consistently, including the patriarch, and I'm not talking about you, but where like consistently throughout Christianity, men will take certain texts or passages out of the Bible, like where they're trying to say that like women should like submit to men, when we shouldn't vote and we shouldn't be all of these
Yeah.
things. But I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
yeah, and whereas in my opinion, you're like, yeah, they should. I agree with all
Yeah.
that.
Where's the lie?
What's the
No,
problem here?
I'm just
But even with the feasts, when we talk about submission, like even when I think it was Ezekiel, is it like 124, 123? Anyways, one of those. But if you look at Ezekiel 1, I think it's 20 through 25, you look at where you talk about submission, but it's husbands submitting to wives, and then wives submitting to husbands, and then both submitting
mhm,
to God. And
right.
so people want to like just take like, oh, women submit to there you go, see that? Women, and then they talk about other things where about women being apostles and military strategists, when there were so many, not so many, but there's several examples in the Bible that I've talked about as well, well, where women were military advisors, they were apostles, they were judges, they were business owners, and all these things, like Deborah and Junia, and so many others. I've done videos on that. But and so when we take away from those women, and like even within Canada, like there was like 5 Christian women that fought for women to have the right to have divorces and have property rights and to vote and things like that. I don't know if I already said that, but that was only like in the last 100 years, right? And we fought really hard for that. And even in Europe in the 1700s, like women were given the right to vote, and there was an age of consent and things like that. And shortly thereafter, it was taken away again. But again, like through through Christianity and having it where everyone was given a Bible and were it was promoted that they read the Bible. Like in Scotland as well, I think that was the first area where like it was like 100% literacy ever. It was through the Bible, and people
Hmm.
were saying that your relationship with God is individual, and everyone should read the Bible, not just the king and interpret it down, or the Pope. No,
Yeah.
you should read it and learn it and understand it and talk about it because everyone
That
has
and
different.
that's where I've come to. That's the place because I find that you can't find a congregation that really preaches truth,
No.
unadulterated truth. Even the best Christian congregations, right? I've been to like non-denominational ones, like different denominations. You might agree with 75% of it, but then they do other things that you're like, like I don't, that like they don't teach a flat Earth, or they don't teach a
Mhm.
young Earth, or they try to rationalize evolution,
Yeah.
or even for me, it's like they celebrate Christmas and Easter as if those are Christian holidays, like stuff like that. So I find it very hard to congregate with like-minded folks, except here on YouTube. Like this is
Yeah.
really like the the church of YouTube, like where if you're one of the 20 people watching right now, you're probably very like-minded. We're probably on the same wavelength, I would imagine. But so the only thing to me that's really important is knowing the truth, always looking for the truth, speaking the truth, getting your truth from the Bible, and just believing in God and having Jesus in your heart. Like you don't need to be a part of an organized religion, or be a part of a congregation to have closeness with God. Like you don't need an expert to tell you what the Bible says. You can read it yourself and interpret it yourself. It's the so-called experts that are always getting us in trouble.
Yeah.
Whether it's COVID, or astrophysics, or
Yep.
biblical stuff, the so-called experts, the people who label themselves the experts and dismiss what you have to say because you're not the credentialed expert, those are the people you need to not listen to. And you should have that feeling in your gut when an expert, a so-called expert, is spewing bullshit at you. You should have that gut feeling that what you're hearing is bullshit, because the frequencies just won't resonate with you. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
Like lies don't have a good frequency. You should be able to
No.
feel it. You should be able to feel a lie. Like, and that's part of it. So like when I'm dealing with the city attorney and he's just spewing fallacy after fallacy, and just just being completely dishonest, and deliberately, dishonest, and deflecting. You could feel it. It,
And they
it,
don't
it
care
they don't care because
because it's
they don't
money.
have souls, in my opinion.
Nope. Yeah. And yeah, and laziness and ignorance, willful ignorance, right? That is also a sin.
And arrogance. Oh, it's like, oh my god, the arrogance of these lawyers sometimes, to think, oh, like the average guy can't possibly understand his rights because he didn't go to law school, right?
Yeah.
My god. I kind of want to transition to something a little different. Maybe we could just show my wall real quick. That's the Flammarion engraving,
Nice.
right? So it's obviously it's showing the firmament, right? The partial, right? It's not the whole painting, but it's showing the firmament, it's showing the stars and the moon and the sun inside the firmament. It's showing the heavens, essentially. That's what all this is representing, right? The glory of heaven, right? All these colors. And then this guy trying to break on through to the other side, as I say, right? As Jim Morrison said, right? Break on through to the other side. That's what he's literally doing. So did this guy just die? You know? Or did he reach Antarctica? Look, he's at the bottom, right? So he's like in Antarctica right now. But this is this is my intro that I've had on my channel, the Stinky Cash channel, for
Mhm.
almost ten years now.
It's been a while. Yeah, it was when I
Um,
first came on, it was on.
And when I made this, I didn't even realize how coded this really was at the time I made it. But the more and more I watch it, the more and more, like for instance, I have the dog at the center of the universe. Dog is backwards of
Right.
God, right? So, and he's kind of
Yeah.
giving you the all-seeing tongue there. Um, but you've got the zodiac wheel, so you've got the 12 constellations. You've got the sun, and the moon is right here. I don't know if you could see it, but yeah, you got the moon down there. And what I did, I started this. My intro begins on my birthday. So you have the sun here, the last day of Taurus, right? Because the sun is losing 1 degree every day. So with each rotation, the sun goes this way 1 degree until it goes through all the zodiacs, or the entire zodiac throughout the course of the year. So I'm going to play my intro. We talk about the mathematics behind it too, and how it all works on the geocentric model. This is probably going to get us a copyright strike. I don't know, maybe.
On your own channel. Sorry, I'm smoking a cigar while we're doing this. Like, I hope it's not
Smoke your
affecting my.
cigar. So everything's rotating in the same direction. It's all going clockwise, but the sun and moon are slightly slower than the stars. I'm gonna turn the volume off so we don't get copyright strike because I don't own that song, believe it or not. So yeah, the sun, the moon, the stars—they're all going in the same direction, but because the stars are 4 minutes faster than the sun, that's called a sidereal day, right? A stellar day. It's 4 minutes faster than the sun, which is 24 hours, a solar day. And the moon's even slower. The moon is 50 minutes slower than both of them. So these bodies, the sun and moon, are slowly losing ground on the stars, causing them to fall through the zodiac. The moon will fall through the zodiac in 1 month, where the sun will fall through the zodiac in 1 year. And it's a perfect divine clock. And it's all just based on the different speeds. The stars are going one speed. That's right here. So you have a sidereal day, 23 hours and 56 minutes. Those are the stars. That's how long it takes the stars to make one rotation. Then you have a solar day is an equal 24 hours. That's what we use. And then you have a lunar day, 24 hours and 50 minutes. So that 50 minutes that the moon is slower than the sun causes the moon to lose roughly 12 degrees per day, or 360 degrees in a month. So it's all just based on the mathematics. It has nothing to do with the Earth orbiting the sun and the moon orbiting the Earth and the moon orbiting the Earth in the wrong direction, right? The heliocentric model makes this into a super complicated system with a million different motions happening at the exact same time, um, all fighting against one another too. And it just complicates things. And Occam's razor is going to tell you this is exactly what's happening. And obviously, I have my flat Earth represented right here. Um, and this is just my intro. It's just a primitive computer graphic that I made over 10 years ago. I actually made this using PowerPoint, which is kind of
Oh,
insane.
nice.
I was so primitive on video editing software. This is literally just basically a frame by frame stop motion video where
Good.
I just shifted everything a little bit, and I got the ratios perfect. But that's what's happening. So right now you'll see the moon is going to start falling backwards. Right now the moon is in the what is that? The Scorpio? I'm not good
I
with
can't.
my sim.
Is that Sagittarius? I don't know. You've got
Now it's in the hunter.
Libra, Scorpio. Yeah,
Now it's in the hunter. So you see, it
yeah.
doesn't take many It only takes 3 rotations for the moon to basically change signs, because it's 12 degrees per day, where it's only 1 degree per day for the sun. But this is the flat Earth math. This is how the flat Earth clock works right here. It's just ratios basically. And obviously
Yeah, I'm trying.
my intro song was written by a band called Dussault,
Ah,
which
sounds like
means
Dussault.
like of the sun, So it all comes full circle.
Um, yeah.
But now that the audience has an understanding of that's how astrology works. on the flat Earth model.
Can I add to that with okay, so like just so okay, because again we can both add so much to this.
Yeah,
And I know you have to take off at some point, but anyways, and so like the sun's travel path on average approximately 15 degrees per hour, which is a
right,
measurable distance, and that so and then so it takes so 15 degrees every hour or every 2 hours it passes through the zodiacal belt on
right.
average. And then again, it only travels 23.4 degrees or
Well,
whatever you
hold
want to
on,
say.
but here's what I'm saying though. The zodiacal belt is going at is at nearly the same pace as the sun. That's why the sun remains in the same sign for 30 days. Because
Okay, so
as my animation is, the sun is going 15 degrees an hour, but the stars are also going slightly faster than 15 degrees an hour, like decimals. And
so I'm gonna
it causes a 1 degree shift in the sun. So over 30 days or over one sign, the sun has now shifted 30
yes.
degrees. It's fallen into the next astrological sign, and that's where we get our months from, essentially. Um,
Yeah, and so I'm just gonna I'm gonna talk about the sun because yeah, like so the constellations are independent of that, and they do also rotate, like you're saying, 100% further away and stuff like that. But the luminaries again are also traveling within that band or that belt to varying degrees. So I just wanted to talk about the sun first, and because like it's a lot of math, I need to like just get it
yeah,
out. And so
the
like
sun is
so the sun
the sun is the best place to start.
yes. And so like traveling again 15 degrees per hour per day as well, though. Like this is the average. So this is where we get the 24-hour clock as well. And it does travel the circular ring path through like from Aries, 6 a.m. Until 8 a.m. And then it travels into Taurus again and then from Taurus spends 2 hours there, Gemini, and then at noon it goes from Gemini into Cancer when it's at its peak or highest, again depending on the season, etc. And then traveling further west when we get into Libra, 6 p.m. in there for 2 hours, and then midnight is when it's entering the Tropic of Capricorn, and where we have our
Understood.
yeah, and okay, and so that's the average though, and so because the analemma and because the circular ring path when it's traveling the Tropic of Cancer, this is where we in the northern regions we experience our longest days, shortest nights the summer solstice on or around the 20th of June of every single year, where
Hmm.
it's at its peak, the sine wave. This is where, yeah, it's going from Gemini into Cancer as well. So on a daily path, it's at noon, and then on the annual path of the sun, when it's in the summer solstice, it's when it's at its peak as well. And
And
then and so I would
this is when the sun is over the Tropic of Cancer.
so
And
this is where I think it's so much
you're
slower.
far up in Canada, like you're further north than me. So
Yes.
and we're already at the end of May. So you're already experiencing extremely long days. Being we're
Yep.
only 3 weeks away from the solstice. You're
Mhm.
already experiencing that. Not quite 24 hours because you're not at the North Pole. If you were at the North Pole on the summer solstice, you would see a 24-hour sun going around you 360.
Yes.
You're not quite at the North Pole. You're closer than I am, so you are experiencing a longer day right now than I am, I believe. Um, but it's also so the sun is making its smallest circle, but
Yes.
it's maintaining 15 degrees an hour. So in
Exactly.
linear speed, it's slowing down.
Yes.
It does circle slower to maintain a 24-hour day.
Mhm.
But we observe that. We observe the twilight in the summer lasting significantly longer than the twilight in the winter, where it's like when the sun goes in the winter, the sun can hit the horizon and 15 minutes later it's dark outside. Where like in the summer, the sun hits the horizon and the light lingers for a long time, and that's part of it. The length of the twilight, when you measure twilight, it actually proves that the sun is speeding up and slowing down, which on the heliocentric model, they have that reverse engineered where because it's an elliptical orbit, when the sun is closer, it's going slower and then it goes like this. So like even on the heliocentric model, they have the sun changing speeds. So they've reverse engineered every single observation that we actually see.
Yeah. Yep. And then the reverse applies for when it's the Tropic of Capricorn.
Yeah.
It's when we have the shortest days and the longest nights, and
Yep.
it's on a
It's making a much bigger circle now.
period, and we observe that as well. And so so also on the sun though, okay, so this is Tycho Brahe's model as well as many other people from even before him with their descriptions of the sun and the luminaries, but his was like next level. And so the five other wandering stars, so you have the two great lights, which is the sun and the moon ruling over darkness, and when we have longer moonlight during our winter months in the northern region and shorter we have longer lunar nights, so
Because
whatever you
there's
want to call
more
it,
because
and
there's
shorter
more
lunar nights.
daylight in the summer, you get less moonlight. Even though the moon's out during the day, you're
But we have a shorter period of time that the moon is in the sky as well in the summer.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
because the moon rules the darkness in the winter and the sun rules the summer
Yeah.
and the heaven versus hell, all that dichotomy and the masculine feminine stuff as well. But the luminaries, so Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, these and I've talked about this, I've shared it with like the 2C coupling and stuff like that, I've shared videos, but where with these gears I do believe, or whatever you want to call it, they're locked in with the sun and they're traveling around the sun,
The
right?
wandering
And
stars.
on different, the wandering stars, like the five of them, right? And
Yeah.
so you can connect that with the pentagram or the,
Yeah.
and all that other stuff as well if you want. And so those luminaries are on their own independent ring paths, right? Start like with Mercury and Venus, and then the larger ones, right? But it's above us, right, within the enclosed system as we're looking up, and then they have different also travel paths or whatever you want to call it, or extreme limits of where they are in reference to the equator, which is like the 0 degree mark for reference. And so all these luminaries have like I think it's anywhere between like 1.9 degrees to upwards of like 9, I think, for like the furthest away from the equatorial ring, but closest to the sun. Um, and they have different, again, anyways,
That
they're
you would
traveling around the
you
sun. And the reference frame that we look at is how far they are away from the ecliptic, but also
yeah.
how our course I was on mute. What I was saying was that there's a lot of other stuff that I could have gotten into regarding the zodiac and the sun and the moon and things like that. And so for this one, I was able to pull up what I was talking about. So I just want to share. Um, okay, so 12 signs of the Mazzaroth. I was going to be talking about, or wanted to and I did touch on these things, but the 12 tribes of Israel or Jacob, 12 apostles of Jesus, 12 titans of the Olympian gods in Greek mythology, the 12 signs in Chinese zodiac, and 13 in some cases too, for these as well. 12 houses in Western and Vedic astrology, Egyptian, Babylonian, Indian, and Mayan systems as well, where there's different signs or animals uh, that are represented by the signs with descriptions of what they encompass, characteristics, etc. I was going to get into the signs as well and the characteristics, but again, this is such a complex topic that we could have both, literally, Jeff and I talked about this for hours and hours. So the sun is a local luminary in my interpretation of the model and in Jeff's, moving on its own independent ring path. Travels annually between the Tropic of Cancer, 23.4 degrees north and south. Oh, sorry, well, when it's in the Tropic of Cancer, obviously it's north, 23.4 degrees north of the equatorial ring. And so 90 degrees minus 23.4 is 666. So interesting. Tropic of Capricorn is 23.4 degrees south latitude of that equatorial ring. So 21 June, depending on if it's a leap year, non-leap year, and what calendar system you're using, is the summer solstice. Maximum northern reach, closest to the center, or the North Pole, whatever you want to call that, and where we experience, again, like the longest days, shortest nights, and where we see in the northern hemisphere the sun for the longest period of time and the moon the shortest, right? So sometimes even like 8 hours of luminosity of the moon, like our moon traveling on our path, longer periods in the winter, so it's flipped. And then obviously the winter solstice, 21 December, maximum southern reach, where we in the northern hemisphere experience the longest nights, the shortest days, or when. And again, stuff I've talked about in my videos for years. So I'm so sorry if this is redundant to people. It's just that it's very important to bring up if we're talking about this topic. Cultural, spiritual connections, sun linked to kingship. And so even with the crown, the golden crowns that kings wear, and resurrection, light, and divine order. So Jesus, Apollo, Mithras, Horus, Ra, and just the descriptions of them in some cases, chariots traveling in the sky. Even Santa Claus is connected to that, and their opposites. So the masculine, and then the moon being the feminine, where we have these feminine or female deities and prophetesses, etc., goddesses rather, that represent the moon. Moon travels on its own circular ring path, independent of the sun. Its declination, north-south movement of that equatorial ring, like I was trying to say, varies dramatically. So when there's a minor standstill, when it's, again, closer to the equator, plus or minus, again, when it's north or south, 18.5 degrees from the equator. And then we have the major standstill, so it's every 18.6 years, depending on who you talk to, 19 years, etc., reaches extremes of plus or minus 28.6 degrees north or south. So I said approximately 30, but I knew it wasn't more than that, but I knew it was less, but I didn't know. I didn't remember, because again, there's so much numbers. There's so many numbers you have to remember when talking about this. So the Metonic cycle, 19 years. Moon's phases realign with the sun and calendar dates. A divine reset of the clock. Full moon birth versus new moon birth, different energetic signatures, illumination, outward expression versus hidden potential introspection. The number 13 connection, 13 lunar cycles in a solar year. So I talked about the 28 times 13 being 364, and then a day of creation. So linked to moon's cycles, mystery, and feminine principle. And again, adding Ophiuchus into the moon's travel path as well, even though the sun also, again, touches Ophiuchus on its travel path. Ophiuchus being the hidden healer, which I'll get into that in the video, but the 5 wandering stars are planets for the Tycho Brahe model and my interpretation, and many others, okay, that before the pseudoscientists misinterpreted their work. So you've got Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn that orbit or travel locked to the sun, a tectonic feature, while the sun itself circles the central axis. Let me just see here. Okay, I'm not on mute. Good. Okay, so this explains their wandering appearance against the fixed stars. And again, 5, so you can like connect the dots, pentagram, even with Allah or with us even. So you've got arm, leg, arm, head. And so we have, like, again, our head, arms, and legs, and 5 fingers, 5 toes. Connection to the divine. The 7, okay, so you got the, what else can I say about that? I want to make sure that, because it can also get into, again, the luminaries. So it's very specific. And I connect the luminaries to the 7 deadly sins. See, I do so much typing to get things. Okay, so anyway, I'll find it. Here we go. On the show again. Did not mean to interrupt. And so maybe it's a good thing, and I'm going to find, again, I just gave a lot of good information, and then I'll just talk about, again, the distance of the luminaries in conjunction to the sun. Far away they are from the sun, right? Which also explains retrograde movements, all of these things. And so
and it would be great if you could pull up the lengths of the years and stuff of those wandering stars. So so what Dawn is saying is, so the sun is circling above us, right? But the wandering stars, say the 5 wandering stars, are circling the sun. So the wandering stars are orbiting the sun as the sun is orbiting the earth, essentially. Okay. And they all have a different period of length of how long it takes them to complete one revolution around the sun. So I think, like, you would look up, the length of a year on Venus or the length of a year on Mars. That's how long it takes them to complete one circular path around the sun. But they're following the sun around the earth day after day after day. That's why they rise They rise and set just like everything else in the sky. And the mathematics behind the years of all the wandering stars, how long they take, it's all divine. It's all like it's all
Sacred
divine
geometric
mathematics.
paths. Yeah.
It's all sacred geometry.
Yeah. I
So
just
it's
shared that
proof.
too.
Yeah, it's proof that this is a divine, the sacred geometry, right? The golden ratio is proof that we're in this divine creation, that it can't be random, right? If you think about the heliocentric model, and you ask a heliocentric, how come the constellations have never changed? Like if the sun is soaring through the galaxy, as the galaxy is soaring through the universe, how is it that we see the same constellations for 6,000 years?
And these were points made by so many great astronomers and astrophysicists, like
Now,
from the
do you
past.
know the official answer, Don?
It's because I mean, I know the answer. Like what I think to be the interpretation of my model.
What the official answer in science for why, even though everything's moving, the constellations haven't changed in 6,000 years? What's the official scientific rationalization?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's just distance. They just
Oh,
say
I thought there was
those.
something more complex to
Just
it
no,
than
no. It's just
obviously.
distance. They say those stars, Polaris, and all those stars of the constellation.
He did throw me off there because I'm I've talked about this in my videos so many times, but he doesn't watch my videos, or at least all of them. And so the distance being like ridiculous distances away, like trillions of miles away, I've literally talked about that in videos. But I did think he had something else that he was trying to say, right? And so, but anyway.
Are so far away that
Yeah.
even though we're moving like 1,000,000 miles per hour through the galaxy, right? Like I think the sun goes through the galaxy at 500,000 miles per hour.
Yeah, I was gonna
According,
say, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Like
So
400.
even though we're traveling in like that linear path through the galaxy, chasing the sun in a spiral. So we're like it's called the helical model of the universe, where we're spiraling around the sun as the sun is going through the galaxy at 500,000 miles per hour. So we're going 500,000 miles per hour. Despite that speed and that distance, it's caused no shift in the constellations. How can that be possible? Oh, well, the
They're
stars of the
trillions of miles away.
constellations, they're so far away that's
Yeah.
even 6,000 years of 500,000 miles per hour.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the constellations for like the reasoning why, but like even with the luminaries, like Mercury, Venus, etc., they're saying that there's no parallax, all these things because of the distance, like trillions, and just ridiculous distances. I do still want to get on the like Mercury and Venus too because there's more to them as well, right? They form like these sacred geometric patterns in the sky once you like map it out, but also they have phases, right? The closer you are to the sun, right? So like even Venus and Mercury are observed to have phases, and the exterior luminaries that are orbiting the sun or traveling around it, you don't see that, right? Because again, they're further away from like the sun in the path. And then even with the moon travels through the ecliptic as well, but also a bit it travels obviously like through the ecliptic, but beyond that, north and south of the equatorial band, like the sun, for example, it doesn't go further north or south 23.4 degrees north.
I think the moon does the same thing. It goes
No,
as
it does not.
far. It doesn't go as far as Cancer and
So I'll
Capricorn.
explain that. Yeah. So I just
Okay.
need to get this out again. I'm so sorry. Okay. And so it varies, right? But like per month, but per year, and it resets its cycle with the sun to align with the cycle every 19 years or 18.9, whatever you want to call it, the metonic cycles, and we talk about the saros cycle, stuff like that. But anyways, but through that 19-year period, like through the months and through the years, it's a slower shift. It's not as obvious, I would say, as the sun, but it varies from like 18.3 or 4 degrees north or south latitude during certain periods, as far out as like 30 degrees north or south latitude at the equatorial ring. So the moon actually can actually be further away from that 0 degree mark than the sun, right? And so
interesting.
Also something very interesting. Yeah, and so not a lot of people know that, but I'm obsessed with the moon, and so I've looked more into it. And so
I never really looked that deep into it. I kind of just assumed the moon had the same boundary as the sun.
Nope.
And I kind of thought they were kind of opposite each other in a way too.
When they're at their opposites, this is where you have like your new moon and your full moon experiences. Like
when
the moon is
when they're on top of each other, you have a new moon, and when they're 180 degrees apart, you have a full moon.
Right. That's
Um,
because I think because like they balance each other's out
yeah,
a little bit, right? Like, and
yeah,
so, and also with the new moon period as well, this is where there's that change, that ring change or whatever you want to call it, or as it's moving further north or south of its
right.
ring path. And it travels approximately, I think it was like 13 degrees per hour or whatever, like where the sun is like 15 degrees.
That's right.
And yeah, so there's that as well with the moon. And I just want to get more on the science.
Now think about so what it is so yeah, the moon loses 13 degrees on the sun.
Well, the average speed possibly, and
Right.
again, it depends
Yeah.
on
It
where it
depends.
is
I have to round these numbers. It's roughly 13
yeah,
degrees per day.
average.
Now,
Yeah,
because
average.
the
No,
stars are 1 degree faster than the sun, they're also 1 degree faster
no.
than the 13 degrees.
And so I explained the sun's travel path, 15 degrees, which is a measurable distance. It's just a little over 1,030 miles per hour, which is why we got the 24-hour clock. But the moon travels a little bit slower, and again, depending on so many things, and approximately 13 degrees per hour, right? People, and I think it's really important. So anyway,
On the moon. So the moon loses 12 degrees on the stars as it's losing 13 degrees on the sun. This is what causes all the changes. Now, I guess I've never proved this, but I always kind of thought that if you picture a dome, right, an upside down bowl, you picture the firmament, a dome, the Tropic of Cancer is higher up on that dome, and the Tropic of Capricorn is lower on that dome. Does that make sense? If it was like a bowl shape. So
yeah, it does.
I always pictured like when the sun is over the Tropic of Capricorn, it's physically lower to the earth because it's in that dome shape. So the further out you go in the dome, the lower you are. Then as it gets closer to Cancer, it's higher in the sky. Now, like I said, there's always a reverse engineered heliocentric explanation. In official heliocentric science, when we're in summer, they tell us the sun is further away. And when we're in winter, they tell us the sun is closer, which fits the flat earth model completely if you think of it
Yeah.
like the dome shape. So I kind of think that rings true, at least for the sun. Um, you're getting me to second guess myself on the moon a little bit.
Yeah, because I've looked a lot into this. I've had these conversations too, even at the Anacapulco, and honestly, a lot of people like this is why I wanted to talk about this as well, because a lot of people aren't looking at the moon and its cycles and things like that, and even like the 28-day cycle, 13 months, because with the moon it's connected to like 13 months, that hidden month, the hidden healer Ophiuchus, and which the sun grazes too on its travel path. So the this is what I'm getting because I can't find what I was getting for like the distances, but the five wandering stars or planets, which myself and many others do believe that are traveling around the sun on an independent path from like the moon, but above us, local within the enclosed system. And so you've got Mercury, maximum distance from sun, angular up, anyways, maximum distance from sun, 28 degrees max from sun, typical max latitude reach from equator, uh, plus north or south 28 degrees to 30 degrees for Mercury. Stays very close to the sun. Venus, approximately 47 degrees for maximum distance away from the sun. Typical maximum latitude reach from the equator, right, whether it be north or south for Venus, is plus or minus 30 to 32 degrees. Can appear furthest from the sun in the evening morning sky, depending on the season, where it precedes or proceeds. We've got Mars up to 90 degrees from the sun when it's its furthest away, plus or minus 35 degrees to 38 degrees for maximum latitude reach from the equator as well, and can wander noticeably further than Mercury and Venus, right? Because that's on a further ring path on from the sun. Jupiter up to 120 degrees from the sun, typical max latitude reach from the equator, plus or minus 38 degrees to 42 degrees. Slower, wider loops. Saturn up to 130 degrees from sun, plus or minus 40 to 45 degrees slowest, and can reach the widest deviation, right? And so Mercury and Venus stay relatively close to the sun's ring path. They never get too far. Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn have larger orbits around the sun. So they can stray much further north or south of the sun's current position, which also explains retrograde motion and so many other things as well. Even at their maximum, they generally stay within about 45 degrees of the equatorial ring. They do not go extremely far beyond the sun's own tropical limits, which is plus or minus 23.4 degrees. This creates the beautiful wandering distance we see in the night sky, while everything remains contained within the enclosed system and tied to the sun's main ring path. And I hope that explains it a little better. I'm trying to make this as thorough as possible, but again, this can be a topic that is talked about for days, for weeks. Sun has its daily path through the zodiacal belt rather, and then its annual path, right, as you're saying, and it shifts through the signs 1 degree per day or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the moon as well, it's connected to like fertility, but also with our women get their periods time of the month. I know this is close to you, but with that and with the solar plexus with the sun, this is where when the sun enters your moon sign, where there's apparently like in the solar plexus area where there's a seed that is created, and then if you when the moon enters your sun sign is what I meant to say. Which happens once a month, and it will stay in your sun sign for a couple of days, depending on your sun sign. Resist temptations and fast and things like that. Then you can achieve your higher levels of consciousness, meditation, and things like that to get that seed to go through your cerebral spine, like up your spine, and then you've got the pituitary gland, pineal gland, Ida Pingala connection with the milk and honey connection, and then you become illuminated. Where was it going?
It's also important to note that when I say
28 days, I got to get this out. Yeah. 28 days of a moon period, and then 13. So 28 times 13 is 364.
Right. And, that's what that's a part of what I'm about to say is when I say the sun, right? We know the sun has 24 hours, right? When I say the stars are 1 degree faster than the sun, that's not exact. No. If it was exact, then there would only be 360 days in a year. There's not 360 days in a year. There's slightly more. Whether it's 4, 5, or 6, right? There's a few extra days beyond 360.
Excuse me.
So the pattern never resets every year. The patterns are much larger. The cycles I'm talking about, right? Like like an entire age, right? You get into astrological age. What is it, like 2,100 and something years like or something?
Year, yeah, I've done videos on that.
2180 or something like that. Because the math is godly. It's not exact. It doesn't have to be round, perfect numbers. Like humans, we like to do everything in nice, round, even, perfect numbers. God doesn't need to do that. He could do math to the. He could do it to the 100th decimal place, right? So so there's larger cycles that are happening in the sky beyond just annual ones. Things don't reset every year. Some cycles take 18 years. Some cycles take hundreds of years. Some take thousands of years, right? Yeah, 72 years, or like a return of Saturn, right? It takes 29 and a half years roughly, right? Like so that's where the math, because the numbers are not.
I'm trying to be precise, and I've done videos on this, the Sato cycles, like the Great Year. But I just wanted to elaborate. So the Great Year, Platonic year, clear explanation. Long cosmic cycle of approximately 25,920 years for the long one, often rounded to 26,000. I just want to make sure I'm not on mute. Okay. There's a time it takes for the sun's position at the spring equinox to slowly move backward through all 12 signs of the zodiac, completing one full circle. And I've even talked about the next time that it goes into Aries again, the perfect clock reset, how many thousands of years that's going to be, and the next one coming. And so please take a look at my videos on this on Rumble, Don189. The sun appears to spend roughly 2,160 years in each zodiac sign. So that's a great year that we're talking about. And I had said it, and then someone else confirmed that. So I'm glad that we were good on that in each zodiac sign. So it's 25,920 divided by 12 is equal to 2,160. So this creates the age of Aries, age of Pisces. We are currently transitioning out of this. Age of Aquarius, next one. The shift is very slow, 1 degree every 72 years. That's why I brought up the 72 years, because he was talking about the 1 degree. 360 degrees divided by 72 equals 5 years per degree, 12 signs, full cycle. This movement, this backward movement is called the precession of the equinoxes. Okay, so where the Earth is stationary and flat, the luminaries move above in ordered ring paths. The great year is not caused by the Earth's wobbling on its axis. Instead, it is caused by the slow rotation or shifting of the entire zodiac belt, Mazzaroth, itself around the central axis, which is like the North Pole or Polaris, some people call it. The 12 constellations, the divine clock, are slowly turning or drifting westwards relative to the fixed Earth. The sun, moon, and planets continue their normal daily and annual circuits, but their background position against the fixed stars slowly changes over this 25,920 year period. Every 72 years, 1 degree shift in the background stars. Every 2,160 years, a new astrological age begins. We could talk about how it connects to get to the 19-year Metonic cycle, but I don't want to ramble on too much.
Not perfect. And because there's 5 extra days in the year, or 4 extra days in the year, whatever we're going by, it's not perfect 3.
And then I'm going to shut up for a while. But I did want to say this as well. I didn't get a chance to because I've talked about this in my videos as well, but why we don't have the 360 days. We have 365, depending on if it's a leap year or non-leap year, and depending on if you're tracking a solar calendar or a lunar calendar or a blend of both. And you do have it where the sun on its travel path, when it's at the solstices, it appears to travel around the same path, like the Tropic of Cancer, for sometimes for a couple of days. Same thing when it's traveling the Tropic of Capricorn, where it stays for a couple of days, right? Where like Jesus Christ died for 3 days, rose again. I think this is symbolic of, again, the sun's travel path, and then the rebirth on the 25th of December, when the sun goes from its lowest point in the sky, furthest away from us, when we have the longest days, shortest nights. So we start again having longer days, slowly, until we get to spring, where we have equal amount of day and night, and then the cycle has been literally repeating for many years. And I wasn't able to share an image that I thought would help with that as well, but something, if you are not new to my channel, you've seen this before, but for new people. And okay, so let's see here. Just gonna go back to the image. And so it has it where in the north, like north, south, east, west for cardinal points. And it's flipped here for our clock, where we have midnight at the top part here. When midnight should technically be down here in the south, right? And so this is, if you're looking at a top-down view of the heavens and the earth, this is what you'd be looking down on, right? And so whether it be a sphere, whether it be a plate, whether it be a half of a sphere or a cone or a cylinder, it would still be the same. Like if you're looking at the base, this would still be the same top-down view. But anyway, so for me, Cancer and Gemini would be at the top right here, and Capricorn and Sagittarius would be at the bottom. But it is what it is. So you have where the sun travels on an average path of approximately 15 degrees per hour through the zodiacal belt daily and then annually. And so if we were to start, it rises in the east and sets in the west. So if you want to start in the east with Aries, and again, this is flipped, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm explaining why. This is how the charts look, right? And so the sun, it's between 6 a.m. 6 a.m. it enters into Aries, and then from 6, and that starts the dawn, right? The dawn of the day, from 6 to 8 a.m. And then from 8 to 10 p.m., this is where the sun's traveling through Taurus. And then from 10 to 12, so noon, you're going from Gemini to Cancer. And the same thing for the summer solstice as well, right? When the sun goes from Gemini, enters into Cancer, this is where we have the longest days, shortest months. And then as you go through, Cancer spends 30 degrees in this, or approximately 30 days for the annual calendar. This is where you have the 201st day of the year, event 201, July 20th, is when the sun goes into Leo, and the sun rules over Leo, which I find is interesting, and the moon rules over Cancer. And this is when, again, the sun is at like longest days, shortest nights, and when we have the peak here. And St. John the Baptist as well is celebrated on the 24th of June, and that's again the fall of the sun from its peak, or from its pedestal. And then, so anyways, you go 12 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6. 6 p.m. is usually when people have dinner time, when the sun is setting in the west. And again, depends on the season, but we're talking about like the equinox periods, like more like when it's on its divine, like when it's on its most optimal path. And then from 6 to 8 p.m., 8 to 10 p.m., and then we got 10 to 12 a.m., midnight, when it's the darkest, etc., etc. And where we have the winter solstice, on the annual calendar system, longest night, shortest days. So this is the calendar. And let's see what else I can say about this. So Capricorn and Aquarius ruled by Saturn. You've got, and again, they're side by side. Capricorn and Aquarius ruled by Saturn, and some people do believe, I'm one of them, that think that Satan is connected to Saturn, and Satan being red and half goat, half human, I think is a mix between Aquarius being human, Capricorn being represented by a goat. For tropical astrology, and again, in other cultures and civilizations, these signs are represented by different things like animals, and some years are as well. But anyways, and then you have the sun and the moon ruled by Cancer and Leo. And then when you go down the list here, you've got Mars and Aries. Sorry, you've got Scorpio and Aries that are ruled by Mars. And and Scorpio being the feminine, Aries being the masculine, Capricorn being the feminine, Aquarius being the masculine. We've got Pisces, and let me see here. In Sagittarius, yeah, that's right. So Pisces and Sagittarius are ruled by Jupiter in ancient astrology, not anymore, but I don't agree with the new model. I agree with the older ones, when people were a lot smarter regarding astrology and astronomy and things like that. Got Mars, Jupiter, Saturn ruled by, okay, so we've got that one. And Venus, we've got Taurus and Virgo. No, Taurus and Libra, correction. Yeah, so Venus, Taurus and Libra, Taurus being the feminine, Libra being the masculine, and Libra also a cardinal sign. Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer are the cardinal signs. They mark the cross and the north, south, east, west directions. And for Venus, when you've got Taurus and Libra, this is especially when you're closer to the equatorial ring band. Taurus is the season where people plant seeds, and in Libra is where people harvest seeds, their crops. And this is where you're judged, right? Because you're entering into fall, and if you haven't prepared for winter, you could possibly die, or have to sell your kids or your pets, or eat your pets. And again, you just want to prepare. So for Mercury, Mercury rules over Virgo and Gemini. And I think I got all the planets here. Yeah. Okay, so Saturn, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay, good. I hope that makes sense to people. I'm sure it does.
$360. So the
Do you want
cycles.
me to give you my theory as to why?
Well, I'm kind of torn on that whole 28-day month thing, because really
There's
on
a
the heel.
lunar calendar and there's a solar calendar.
No, I understand. But
And they do.
but let me just get this out. A lunar phase. Like if I were to just sit here and look at the moon from full moon to full moon, it's not. It takes longer than 28 days. It takes on average 29 and a half days.
It depends on if you're going off of sidereal or it's some
Well,
for some.
we're going.
I also didn't get to mention this as well, and again, I keep saying this in my videos, but with like the full moons and the new moons, they also follow their own flow, right? And so when you have a full moon in Gemini, for example, like let's say it's in December, or in that period, or a full moon in Cancer, and sometimes it's in December or January, etc. Then the following month, it's going to follow the following sequence, right? So you go from Gemini to Cancer to Leo, and it follows its own sequence. Sometimes it's a little off, right? So this is what we're saying. Like there are deviations with both calendars, like especially on understanding and the timings and things like that, which is why we need to get more into this. But it follows like a very common flow. So, and same thing with the new moon, right? Like if you have a new moon, and the new moon is usually the opposite sign of the full moon, and then the new moon also being like the same sign as the sun sign.
Well, we're going off of solar time.
27.3.
When I say days, I'm just, of course, talking solar time. But
Yeah, I would be talking lunar time.
So for the moon to go from full moon to full moon, it would take the sun, it would occur in 29 and a half rotations of the sun, not 28.
I mean, it depends on who you talk to. There are even with the 28-day calendar, it makes it where like every day of the week, like every month starts with whether you want it to be a Sunday or a Monday. Some people start the day of the week with a Sunday, and then it would be consistent throughout the calendar. But this is if you're going off of, and then it resets with the sun.
No,
every
I'm familiar.
years.
I'm familiar with both. Like I've met people
Yeah.
who really preach it hard. I also think that like our calendar is so distorted. Really, months should be signs, right? We shouldn't have January, February, March, April, May, June. It should just be the signs, right? It should just be like it's the first of Aries, it's the second of Aries. Like those are our months. At the end of the day, those are our months. And those all start on like the 21st usually, right? It's usually like the 21st to the 21st or the 20th to the 20th, right? And then like January 1st, where the hell does January 1st fall on the sine wave? You mentioned the sine wave, right? The top of the sine wave is June 21st.
Yes.
The origin point is March 21st. January 1st is in a very random place on that sine wave. It doesn't really make any sense.
That's if you're looking at like the sun or the moon, but if you're looking at like Sirius, like this, like certain stars in the sky that people like held with more significance, sometimes people use that for certain festivals or calendar celebrations or things like that. So even with the Big Dipper and its travel path, like when you see it mapped out through like the different equinoxes or solstices, like it looks like when you map it out like this swastika, right? But and that's where even that symbol has been obviously used in a negative
it's been
way.
used. No, but it's been used to represent the four seasons.
Yes, historically
because that's
speaking,
what it is. When the Big Dipper is in a different orientation all four seasons and pointing to the North Star.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's where I believe the origins of that come from. I don't think that symbol could have came from anywhere else except for the Big Dipper. When you go to the origins of origins, the swastika comes from the Big Dipper.
Yeah, and many different ancient civilizations and Hindu, like and even now, like that's a symbol again. Like it doesn't mean you're a Nazi, right? Or that you're a white supremacist or anything like that. But and even I think it was like Finland or one of the air forces in the European countries, even at the kickoff of the Russian-Ukraine war, they still had the Nazi flag in their air force, and they had only removed that.
That's a travesty. Anti-Semitism is really a cancer on the world, and I would know. I'm a doctor. I'm Dr. Harvey Weingartner, and anti-Semitism is just a plague. We have to get rid of it.
That's a good one. Even with like the helical path, and everything that's all connected to the rhotic of Asclepius rather, and and again, Eta Pingala, milk and honey, Ophiuchus, if I didn't already mention that, our DNA strands all connected, right? And so they're using different like signs and symbols and in such an incorrect way.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something too about.
I'm not sure if your audio got worse or.
No, can you hear me?
I want to say it's on your end, unless it's my headset, unless the people in the chat.
I don't know because I'm not touching
anything. Yeah, you don't sound the same anymore. No. My favorite subject.
Yeah, Operation Paperclip. Right, Annie Jacobson did a really good breakdown of that, and one of her books is incredible, and it's called Project Paperclip, I believe. But anyways, Annie Jacobsen, and again, over 1,000 Nazi scientists and war criminals. Damn it! Still no, eh?
See, that's better. Whatever you're doing there, you're muffling the mic. I think when you do something.
Maybe if I lift it.
Like right now, you're good. Right now, the audio is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Better. Yeah. So good. After the Nuremberg trials, and even before that, there were people that went into the. I've got this is recording. 1 second here.
Well, I think of Operation Paperclip, right? It's a CIA operation. And
well, I mean, it was they facilitated, but so did other people within government, and they went into Werner von Braun. This is where some people in the chat, like and they were all great. There were so many funny comments and stuff like that. I really enjoyed doing this, and Jeff, honestly, like he's so smart that I really love having these conversations with him because he also provides. He's also well informed. But even with this, there's a lot of pushback because, and I'm not saying this is Jeff at all, but I'm saying there are people with it that listen to our stuff as well, and there there are people that I'm trying to say this in a way that's not going to get me dinged on YouTube again for the millionth time, but they support the Nazi ideology, right? And there are people that are apologists and people that are claiming that the Holocaust didn't exist, that people didn't die, and that Adolf Hitler, like he was writing all of this stuff. And again, I'm going to reiterate that there are Christians and are people that are fake Christians, and this has been historically speaking that have penetrated the religion, misrepresented it, misinterpreted it, and by design, right? And sometimes inadvertently. And what they're pushing are things like removing rights and freedoms away from like a huge percentage of the population, right? And that also includes women. So even in Germany, they were talking about the KKK, kitchen, church, and kids for women, not wanting them to be educated, not wanting them to vote, etc. And again, we've been through this for hundreds of years, thousands of years and beyond, right? And it took a lot for women, Christian women. It was Christian women that fought in the courts, etc., and on the streets to have the right to vote and to divorce and to own property and all that stuff. And it's in the Bible, and Jesus Christ as well literally represented that, like the ultimate feminist, especially in a time where it was like not the time, right? And so, and then I wanted to mention, but again, I've done videos on this as well, so I don't want to be redundant, but about Christians, even in the Bible, women who held military positions, military advisors, they were judges, they were rulers, they were apostles, they were disciples, they were teachers, they were business women, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's why I guess, like, even though there are people within like the truther community, the flat earth community, et cetera, that are bang on and incredibly smart when it comes to like the science of like the earth, it's when it comes to other things, right? It's again, it's a little bit falling off the rails, and I think it's by design as well, right? They want to discredit the flat earth community. They want to make it seem like there's certain groups that are like super racist, super sexist, all of these things to discredit the movement, right? Because then it also discredits God and all these other things. And so if there are Christians that can call out other fake Christians or people that are Zionist Christians that are supporting genocides, et cetera, and the collapse of the Middle East, and so many other things, of actual Semites, right? So people are calling us anti-Semites for calling out what Israel, not Israel specifically, but what people in government are doing. Just like I call out the Canadian government and people in the American government and every other freaking government. I'm saying the same thing. Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, and Smotrich, et cetera. And people who are calling themselves Zionist Christians who are funding and pushing for genocides, et cetera. And societal collapses from within as well. It's literally not helping, and we should not be, just sitting by and not saying anything about it, right? I think especially as a Christian, people should be speaking out on what people are saying about actual right-wing, extremist, neo-Nazi type Christians that are within the movement, and people who are perverted and deviant in their home lives, like we're even seeing with Congress people and people high level in the American government, pretending they were like, devout Christians, etc., and cheating on their wives, cheating on their husbands, orgies, so many like disgusting things, lying, cheating, stealing, grifting, taken away from the American taxpayers, from the most vulnerable, and exploited, etc. And that does not make you a Christian. And yeah, so people from Germany that were actual Nazis that were actual Nazis tried in the Nuremberg trials. Am I saying that there should have been more communists that should have been in jail as well? And part of the Nuremberg trials, 1,000%. 1,000%. Stalin, Mao, these people, jail, people that were working with the highest levels, jail, their government, jail at the highest levels, the cabinet. Did that happen? No. And so a lot of people got away from also committing crimes against humanity. But Nazis from Germany literally came, and they were in space programs, anyways, space programs in multiple different capacities, science programs, academia, involved in the MK Ultra stuff. And that's a slap in the face for a lot of people. And not just Jewish people, Christians as well, that were exploited and also killed, and also put in concentration camps, and also under extremely adverse conditions, and dying of typhoid and other illnesses and starvation. And
Right,
countless
that's what
other.
I'm saying. Like it's a CIA operation to bring over these Nazi scientists. One of those scientists being our leading rocket scientist, Werner von Braun, and he's like the head, the founder of NASA, if you will.
Yeah.
He invents the Saturn V rocket.
I was just,
He
I literally just wrote that.
Yeah, he gets us to the moon. Okay, but
Yeah.
but he came from a CIA program, right? Like NASA. I've always looked at NASA as a division of the CIA. And the CIA is not really the central intelligence agency, it's the counterintelligence agency. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's what NASA is. NASA is essentially counterintelligence against the people. It's not about other countries because they're doing the same shit to their people.
Yeah.
It's mind control on populations of countries. That's what NASA is. It's freaking mind control. It's Satan. It's an anagram for Satan. It's got it's got snake symbolism right in the logo.
So I'm just
And
reading some of the comments.
yeah, read from the live chat.
Um,
I'm just so far away from the live chat. I haven't been able to read it.
so I guess the like the comment here is just regarding like blaming the Nazis for NASA.
It's true though. Like the people who
At
run
the higher
NASA,
levels, but there
they're
are people
Jews.
with
There's Jews and Freemasons. The non-Jews are all Freemasons. But everyone at NASA is either a Jew, an occultist, or a Freemason, or in some sort of secret society from a prestigious college.
I don't know, but I mean that's a little dramatic, Jeff. Just kidding, not everyone,
It's
but the
not
people at the
everyone.
top. No, because there are people, because I know people that work within or that have worked within these industries, and they literally have no idea because they're not at that level where they would even
No,
be.
those are the bottom feeding ones. Those are just like
But
that's
there's
just like
so
your
many people working for
yeah,
NASA and
of course.
CIA and stuff like
That's
that in
just like
so many
your
different organizations, and so we're
that's just
talking about a very yeah. We're
yeah.
talking about a
No, I
very
get
small
you.
percentage of people, even within these industries, right? So there's people working in the CIA doing good work every day. I know people don't want to hear that, but there are people especially at the top, that again are part of the steering committees. Absolutely right on that, and in Hollywood and in academia and stuff like that as well. And
It's definitely all compartmentalized and layered, right? That's why there's like
yeah,
degrees of Freemasonry. Your drunk uncle who goes to the Freemason lodge on Tuesday nights to play poker, right? Like
yeah.
he's not involved in what's going on with the 33rd degree Freemasons who all went to the moon, right? That's a
There's
fact,
also
by
the
the way.
Alistair Luck types, right? Like you've got people that are Satanists, part of
Yeah.
cabal, like these esoteric occult groups, that are weird and perverted, and they live action role play and stuff like that as well. And so yeah, there's a bunch of different groups, like and definitely the Freemasons and the Jesuits, etc. There are people that within those groups that do have a lot of control, and even during like the wars, right? So you've got like this, like even like before the civil wars and stuff like that, the wars with thank you, within the U.S., the 13 colonies. You had, it was literally Britain, the Brits, and the 13 colonies against like New France and France and the, like New France and Canada and the French. And even then, there were already like we have Freemason buildings all over Canada, like that. So like literally the oldest buildings here, right? And this is where
Mm-hmm.
people met. largely that were part of the Christian communities, but also military advisors and strategists and politicians and stuff like that. They would have these meetings there within these nice stone buildings, like even close to my house. I shared a video of it the other day, and yes, there's a lot of influence because of that, right? Like in all of the U.S. as well, and even in Europe, right? And they have, oh damn it, how about now? Can you hear me?
No,
How about now?
no,
How about now?
nope. I don't know what's happening to you.
How about now?
No, it's very weak. It's like you're in a tunnel or you got a layer over you.
CIA. I'm just kidding.
You've got a Canadian connection right now. Is really what's happening. I think.
Mm. Do you wanna shut this down if you can still hear me?
I can't hear you. Well, I don't think your audio is good enough at the moment.
Okay,
Um,
I think we should shut this down then maybe?
Call it a night. You're saying?
Yeah.
Well, probably. Yeah, we've been going on for almost an hour and a half now. I haven't really had a chance to read the live chat. I don't think anybody super chatted. Otherwise, I would have definitely tried to read the super chats. I don't know if you've been reading the live chats. If there was any
I
questions or
have, yeah,
anything.
no, there was interesting comments and stuff. Like I did, like there was just one, and I get the point about like just like trying to say that we're just blaming like the Nazis for NASA and stuff like that. Like I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that they had a huge part in it. They did, and like especially again, not even just in the aerospace programs and with NASA, but like in so many different institutions. And
Well. Let me ask you: Was Operation Paperclip? Were we taking German scientists, or were we taking Jewish German scientists?
we were taking German scientists and others too throughout Europe because they didn't want them to get, again, they were saying alleged to get picked up by Russia or whatever. Well, these people
Right.
should have been put in jail for life, right? But they're like, oh, they're too important. But again, they had already murdered their best of their best, right, during like the purges of the early days. So anyone that was brilliant minds within Europe and especially Germany, Adolf Hitler had them executed thousands of people that were high IQ, and so you got what was left, like the Wunderbaum von Brauns. You know what I mean? And so you got them, people that were found guilty of crimes against humanity literally should have been in jail. And there were Jewish people that were again saying in the US, like this, like, what are you doing? Like, why is this guy here? And these other people that were celebrated and had really high positions in so many different government and academia as well, and buildings named after these people that were literally found guilty of war crimes. And even the trials, again, it was like very biased towards just Germany when there were so many other crimes against humanity committed within Austria, Poland, Hungary, as you know, Ukraine, etc. No one, no one was held accountable for that, or the involvement of people within the U.S., etc., that were funding both sides of the war. All that shit.
See, your audio just got better out of nowhere.
I'm just holding up my phone.
I was just gonna read this super chat, but there's nothing in it. It's just $10 from Scott
Ooh, thank you.
6794. Thank you, Scott. He's been a long time subscriber and watcher for sure. I wish you would have wrote something more than a heart. We would have read it. But
I guess he just likes what we're saying, talking about Nazis and Zionists and war criminals, right? So beyond anything, like I don't even look at these people like as being anything other than like immoral. Well, there's more to it than that, but like criminals. And I don't think you can believe in God and do those things that they committed, right? Like I don't know.
well, I might have to disagree with you. It's not that they don't believe in God, it's that they don't like God. They it's like Luciferian teaching that God made humans ignorant, right? In the Garden of Eden, like God made us ignorant, right? We were naked and ignorant. And it was Lucifer who set us free, and it was Lucifer who gave us the knowledge, right? So like they worship Lucifer and they hate God. And Lucifer's first lie to humanity was, you know, ye shall be as gods. He told us
Yeah.
you could be as gods, and it's not true. It was the first lie, right, as far as I know. And when you think about the Bible and history, right, the pattern that emerges, whether it's the Tower of Babylon or the Saturn V rocket, they're trying to bust through the firmament. At the end of the day, they're trying to break through the firmament, the glass dome, and it's not possible. It would almost be
Not
like
possible.
it would
Yeah.
undo God's like creation essentially. It would prove God infallible. Um, see if I could
Well,
pull
I
up.
mean, the barrier, like it is a if there's some kind of like a superconducting like magnet at the core, um, and then in conjunction with the luminaries that are creating the toroidal and poloidal fields, that like these are what locks us in, right? These like magnetic flux lines or field lines or whatever you want to call them that are being generated by these magnets. Um, and there's no way like like these alpha particles or ionized elements or whatever you want to call them that make up that barrier. I do believe there's a possibility of them being like reflective, right? And so it's bouncing like the like any of the like the alpha particles etc are being bounced off, if that makes any sense, and going back into the system, right? And so there's no way. I don't even think we could go into the ether,
Mm-mm.
like in that layer, because of the extreme low pressure, all of that stuff that goes along with that, and where like when you go into too high of a pressure system and cold, you have like the implosion, like when you go too like down too deep in the ocean, or when you go up too high, right? If you don't have that
Right.
like
If you get too far away from from the
flow,
equilibrium, right, like the plane
yeah,
of inertia.
yeah. So you either implode or you explode, and that's the same principle for anything, right? And so if they go up too high, my assumption is that they would explode. Like,
So I'm trying to pull up as I'm listening to you. I'm trying to pull this up. This is obviously like the famous Disney logo, right? And we all know, or we might not, that Walt Disney was good friends with Warner von Braun.
yeah,
Disney and NASA are like partners, right? And they're both located in Florida, right? And they both deal with CGI. But what is this logo showing? It's showing you the Magic Kingdom, what Disney calls the Magic Kingdom,
and then
right?
you've got yep,
And you've got well, you've got the 666 obviously in the logo, right? You've got 666. Okay. You've got the Magic Kingdom, which is under the firmament, but you've got this tower or this rocket shaped tower, whether it's the Tower of Babel or a rocket, busting through the firmament. That's been the goal. This is why Hillary Clinton is always talking about shattering the highest and hardest glass ceiling, right? It's double speak. When
yeah.
she's giving those speeches, she's using that as a metaphor for like women's rights, right? Right. If a woman were to become president, that would shatter the glass ceiling for women. But it's double speak because she's actually talking about the ancient goal going back to Babylon of busting through the firmament.
They want
Now
to destroy God's creation.
they
Like
want to
that's
destroy
all.
the creation, right? What would happen to the atmosphere if they really could? We'd lose air pressure, right? It'd be like opening a can of seltzer, right? I've been drinking seltzer tonight. You pop that can, we all know what happens. Because the
Yeah.
high pressure inside the can, the high pressure goes upwards towards the opening and tries to equalize with the low pressure. Okay.
Well,
Base
what happens when people apparently go like go in outer space, right? Like let's say like they were outside their spacecraft or whatever, and like they're like something malfunction with their astronaut suits. You know, that's exactly what would happen on Earth if we didn't have that the
Exactly.
medium
Earth
for
needs
breathing and living.
the Earth needs an astronaut suit. For the
Okay,
same reason the astronaut needs the astronaut suit, the entire Earth needs the astronaut suit.
well,
Okay.
facts.
Now,
Yep.
what also connects this all in one other crazy way, we know Walt Disney was a 33rd degree Mason, an occultist, a freaking Satanist. We know he was friends with Warner von Braun of NASA. And what was on von Braun's tombstone?
Yeah. It talks about
Psalm 19:1, which is the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament shows his handiwork. So this guy's best friend on his freaking grave
yeah.
had a passage from the Bible that talks about the firmament and how glorious it is. because his goal was to try to get his Saturn V rocket through the firmament, and he
Yeah,
couldn't do it. And he couldn't do it.
yeah, Saturn V, like the connection to yeah, there's so many connections to see. Um, no, and it's not gonna happen. It's for money though too, I think as well, because like I mean, if they know that this is an enclosed system and that we can't leave it, etc., like that, like for people had said for thousands of years and taught, then I think they're just still pushing this grift, right? Because like I do think they have shares and stocks and family that have shares and stocks or assets, right, that are complete, like that are obviously tied to um again, like the programs, right? Like they're going to the moon, they're going to Mars, the this and that, like all the money that's spent on this and the oil, right? So even with the Clintons, with like their oil connections and stuff like that as well, they're making a lot of money, I'm assuming, because like how many millions of dollars a day, maybe at this point, is being spent on these programs, these space programs and
So
things like
yeah,
that.
no, so like I said, NASA is a division of the CIA, a counterintelligence agency. All the money that goes to NASA,
Yeah,
they only use a very small percentage of that to actually fake what NASA does. The rest
correct.
is rerouted into black ops and other things they need that money for.
To
That's
shut us down. There's a
it's an
lot of money in that.
it's an obvious money laundering scheme, because
Yes.
you don't need what 20 billion a year to create a bunch of CGI images, right? They
No,
could
and
do
they do
that
such a shitty job.
exactly. So it's like yeah, like maybe like 1% of the budget goes to NASA to do their bullshit, and the rest is being circulated, rerouted into other areas of the deep state, if you will, or the shadow government, the real the black ops, whatever the CIA is doing in villages in Africa, just murdering entire freaking villages just to like build a pipeline or something like that. Like that there's
Yeah.
that money's not on the books, but those things happen. So where does the money come from? Well, look at NASA or US aid or whatever whatever these fake
Yeah.
ass programs that we're funding. And that's why doing like an audit of the government was so important. Unfortunately,
Well,
everything
they're not gonna audit, and there's the salaries too, right? So I got to tell you, I usually don't tell these stories because, but I won't say their names. But even with my work, right? Like I was doing work in a company where there's a guy that was like next level, like really high IQ, former special forces, all this stuff. Anyway, he started working for the Space Force. Well, general, I can't say too much. And so we went dark, but I was trying to give him information just about the moon landings, right? So, and he wasn't going to have any of that because the stuff I was working with, you can't hear me?
I can hear you. I was reading.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. And so, and like, he was really, so he went back in and then and so I was trying to give him information before he went. And he didn't even want to receive that, right? And so like I know that he like just is not convinced at all of like even looking at information that debunks the moon landings and stuff like that. I wanted to give him like a Bart Sibrel video, and even that wouldn't even look at, right? I'm like, you're working at the highest levels, and I know what you did before and stuff like that. You should know this information, right? And I had worked with him for several years and all this stuff, but like even that, right? Like he just didn't want to go there. And then also someone that I had gone to RMC with, he became an astronaut. And so, and he was brilliant. He was one of the fittest people I've ever met in my life. Super friggin' smart. And like maybe he is now. I hadn't talked to him in many years, but even when I deployed to Afghanistan, like he was working there in a certain position, like inside CAF, Kandahar Airfield. But again, he didn't. And then now he's an astronaut, and so he's not part of these like space missions. But I tried reaching out to him as well, like 4 or 5 years ago and stuff like that, to give him information because he was going that route. And even then, right, like his account was already taken over by the Canadian Space Agency, all of his social media, and so you can't even contact these people to even warn them once they start working in certain industries. They're literally taking over. The government is taking over their accounts, right? And I
The
know a lot like
Canadian
like
government,
people like
Terrence and
me.
Philip.
Pardon me.
The Canadian government went to space with Terrence and Philip.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all I know
and so
about.
it's
That's all I know
pathetic.
about Canada.
But I'm so glad that my friend or the guy I knew, like, I'm so glad he wasn't the one that was chosen to be the astronaut that like went to space with Artemis. Oh my God. It's such an
The way,
embarrassment.
like, when you call someone an astronaut, my brain registers it the same way like a normal person like when they call someone a flat earther. Like you calling someone an astronaut to me is such an insult. Like it's a sarcastic insult. Like yeah, that guy was a fucking astronaut, right? Because it's like what are as an astronaut, what even are you?
Well, they're used, right? The people are cherry picked, obviously,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
try the blackmailing and the bribing and all that stuff as well, so that as soon as they get them, right, they have them. But just like Epstein and these other honeypots and other stuff that other people that are being employed, they go after the giftest, the best of the best. They're usually the ones that are the most high functioning. And so this person I'm talking about, he was super high functioning, like in every aspect. And it didn't surprise me that he'd be someone that would be cherry picked, obviously, to be, as part of that group, and as well as others. And if and once you're in it, you're not really getting information from the outside world anymore. I tried.
I kind of noticed that about pilots too, though. Just regular airline pilots, they're very weird, and they're very like disconnected from the world, and want to be on a plane that guy is flying because that's weird behavior.
I know. I mean, I obviously went to RMC, and through my military career, I obviously like knew pilots, hung out with pilots, and the running joke for infantry officers were like pilots were usually people that couldn't get into the infantry as an officer. So like that was the next step. But yeah, I've tried to talk to like people that were like former fighter pilots and stuff like that as well, and yeah, it just didn't really go anywhere, and I didn't want to push it too much where I was gonna like ruin that friendship. So I'm slowly working on it, so like I might like still like re-engage with certain things from the perspective of like anyways, from a pilot's perspective, what I would want to hear or listen to or be told, based on my experiences, what may like hit or land, if that makes any sense. But yeah.
Totally. So I think we're both running out of steam here. It's getting kind of late. We're getting
Are you
older.
heading on to Dave's channel after this?
I had all good intentions of doing that, but I'm gonna have to see how I feel because I am getting I do get tired around this hour, and
Yeah.
I start yawning on the live stream, and my eyes get real Asian, and
Yeah, I was up at like 4 something AM again, and
yeah,
so, like, it's usually, like, my bedtime, but,
I'm on
yeah,
very
it
little
was fun.
sleep. It was great. I love talking about the astrology and how it connects to the flat Earth and three things that we can all agree with. This is a creation. There is a creator, which means there is some sort of purpose, right? Like this, like for me, it's like this is a test. This is like this is like the phase you start at before you can ascend, whether to heaven or to the next level or whatever. But this is like a big test, this
The
physical realm.
judgment is if your heart is as light or lighter than a feather. So people talked about the globe stuff as well, because this wasn't about the science, we were just talking about, like, biblical cosmology stuff, but, I've written draft books, and I even shared a couple with you, again, they're long, but, like, I have literally thousands of pages of notes, like, all scientific on the geocentric model, right? This electromagnetic cosmos, whatever you want to call it. And again, I read this off, and I oh, I'm actually gonna die soon. Not, oh my goodness, my phone is gonna die soon. But yeah, anyway, so I don't know if I'll publish them or not.
What is 911 in Canada?
It's 911.
It's 11-9.
999. Like yeah, in Europe, I guess there's different codes.
In
So
Germany, it's definitely 999.
but yeah, my phone's about to die, so
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna.
cool. I plugged
But
mine
if
in.
people are
That's why I'm
interested, like I've read and shared some of my work, my scientific data on my channel, Don189, if they're interested in that.
absolutely, guys. Check that out. Go subscribe to Dawn's channel. Follow her late with my subscriber count because I am shadow banned out the
Me too.
ass.
Yeah.
And I have been for years. I have been since probably 2018. And I just find posting on YouTube pointless at this point. Like it's the reach. the reach is not there. Back in the day, 2014, 2015, 2016, even into 2017, before they altered the algorithm, you can make good content and be rewarded for it. Now it's very hard on this platform to be rewarded for
Oh,
informative truth
you
content.
can't be. We're
So,
downgraded anyways in the algorithms automatically, and I'm shadow banned as well, multiple accounts deleted. But then you get people like Professor friggin' Dave and stuff like that that are like
yeah,
top of the algorithms. It's like,
yep.
okay,
Beware of the people who are promoted by the algorithm. Why?
because they're
Why? And
controlling
the
vision.
yeah, yep. All right, guys.
Yeah,
This was a really fun stream. We'll do it again soon. And I don't even know how to end this, but
yeah, I don't know either.
let's end with a song. No, it was great, guys. Thanks everyone for joining, and
Thank you very
we'll see you
much.
on the next one.